Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. This is the start of Women in Rock month for the show. It will also be my 100th episode. See that? Can't. I've actually woke up with a bit of a cold. Sorry, I have a cold last few days, and so if I sound a bit weird, I apologise. Anyway, so this is Women in Rock month. Now, that rock is quite a big sort of playing field, isn't it, to kick a ball around in. So it'll be different genres and all sorts, and just things in here and there. I have got an interview in this month planned with a very, very good and an amazing singer. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but it's going to be a pretty good interview. It's someone you probably don't know, which is absolutely shameful. And after the interview, you probably will know, and that'll be great. And then she'll get, and the band will get more exposure, which will be good. Anyway, that's aside. So, Women in Rock. Why have I decided to dedicate a month? You say, why, Tony? Because I just think it is important. It's also not just important, but it's something about the wonderful diversity of rock music and music in general, where we don't have boundaries like sex and race and gender and all the things that sort of that are flying around in the social media universe at the moment, that are sort of making people getting very angry. People with horn-rimmed glasses in grey suits waving their fists at each other and shouting about these sort of things. What is that fantastic quote? Was it famous people belching in the corridors of power? No, I can't remember where that quote's from. I think it's a Blackadder quote, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so also I have 2 adult daughters, and I just think that after raising my 2 girls to them leaving home and being successful in their lives, that you just sort of think to yourself, I wonder if they'd chosen a musical path, how they would have turned out. I would have hoped so, that it would turn out well. Anyway, the beauty of rock and roll is that it is all inclusive. It wasn't always. Let's go back. If we go and do the old, Scooby-Doo, and we go back in time, we'll know there's a point there where it was very much a male-orientated industry, and it sort of still is. Let's not deny that, but it doesn't mean that. But it's a bit more fluid. It was back there, maybe 50, 60 years ago. It was all male-orientated. All the producers, all the writers. I know that you can point your fingers at things like, the sort of hippie 60s stuff, and even the Motown music, but that was still written by men most of the time, produced by men most of the time, and everything. That was, most of those women, a lot of the time, were just mouthpieces, which is a real shame, isn't it? But it is what it is. You can't change history. It is what it is. But step forward, we come crashing into the 21st century, and now you could, if there was such thing as a record store, like a Tower Records or a Virgin Megastore, and you walked in and you were to walk up and down the shelves of any rock shelf, heavy metal, rock, classic metal, classic rock, punk, new wave, there will be many, many, many bands that have a female component to it. Now, that doesn't mean that singers, this isn't all aimed at just metal singers. This is also basically about them in general in the music industry. So, and I'm going to be doing female producers as spoiler for one of the episodes of this month, and people female behind the mic, away from the music, powering the product, because there's some amazing ones out there. But for the moment, we're just going to have a chat about music, and women in metal, and women in rock and roll. And I think I'm really really excited when I see an all-female metal band or rock band, or I see a female singer or a guitarist or a bass player. I get really excited because I genuinely feel, and I've said this before, I have done an episode on women in metal way back in the beginning of the series, beginning of the show, but a couple of years ago. But I genuinely feel that they have more. To prove is the wrong word. I don't like that, because that says that they are lesser than their male counterparts, but what I mean is they generally have, I find, more passion. I really do. I feel that there's this sort of sense of fuck you, we can do better than you in your tight jeans and your denim jacket. You know what I mean? Like there's sort of got a point to prove, and when they do that, a lot of the time it can go wrong. It can be very too aggressive and too misogynistic. Not misogynistic. It's wrong word. Not misogynistic. It's too sort of I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but you know what I mean. It's just a little bit too almost toxic femininity to some extent. But it's sort of too aggressive. Not that they're saying that that's not a bad thing, as John Lydon once very put it well, anger isn't energy. But I do find it. I find the female rock acts some of them are in my top 10 bands. Like, Blondie, for instance. Blondie for me is like, I love Blondie. In fact, I own every Blondie single. My sadly now departed sister-in-law, my brother's partner, she loved Blondie, and we shared a lot of bonding moments over Blondie. I grew up, my very first single I ever heard, first single ever, that I remember hearing was my brother playing a clear vinyl 7-inch version of Heart of Glass on his little Dansette radio cassette record deck in the bedroom. He also played on the same day he played Friggin' in the Riggin', so by the Sex Pistols, the B-side of Come On Everybody. So ups and downs, I suppose. But yeah, so what I'm coming from is that there's always someone, you can always find a female figure in music somewhere. I truly believe, and this might offend some uber masculine people, but I truly believe that the world is run by women anyway. We are like, if you know your Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? You know that the world, the Earth was run by mice, but we all thought that it was run by humans. Watching mice run down mazes in labs trying to get bits of cheese was a social experiment on the mice's part. I generally think that's the same with women and females. I generally think that we think we run the world, but we don't really. Like the great saying is, behind every great man is a greater woman. And I think I think so. It's a bit of a misnomer when people think that women in rock and roll is new. It is new, the fact of the power they have in rock and roll, and the fact they can do whatever they want. And vive la différence, as they say in France. But so this now we know where we stand. We think, right, I'm pro women in rock and roll. Most of us are. Let's be honest. Where do you think? I would like to think to myself, where is this power come from? Why the shift? Do you think is this happening? And I don't think it's a shift as in something major. I think what gave women power in rock and roll, and rock and metal and things, is punk. I've said it before. My last episode way back in the series, if you go back, it was sort of, we know that before punk, it was really, the music scene was really male orientated. T-Rex, Slade, Queen, Status Quo, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. You name it. Really, if you watch the Top of the Pops, which was everyone knows what Top of the Pops is. Those that don't know, if you're too young to know what Top of the Pops is, just Google it. Okay, it's just a music program that was very huge in the UK for a very long time. Every country has its equivalent. Here in Australia, they had Countdown. In England, they had Top of the Pops. I don't know what they had in America. I think they had the Casey Kasem's Top 20 or whatever they would have had. Anyway, that aside, I think punk really knocked those dinosaurs over, because all of a sudden they were saying, hey, whatever, let's listen to dub and reggae and we'll just make whatever we want, ska, and let's do it, and it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Christian, Jew, Muslim, female, male, non-binary, whatever you wanted to be, you could do it. It was the you can do it ethics. And I think, and if you look at some of the great rock and roll acts, apart from, I know you're going to say to me, I know you're thinking, you're going, I know what you're thinking, what about Suzi Quatro, Tony? Yes, Suzi Quatro is a bit of a rarity in that respect, but that aside, suddenly we have the X-Ray Specs, we have people like the Slits, and we have Blondie, and we have this sort of stuff, and all this narco stuff with Crass, and it was sort of Penis Envy and all these amazing crazy stuff. And then Girls' School, which we wouldn't have got Girls' School without punk, because Girls' School was born of the punk explosion into new wave of British heavy metal, which is what I spoke to about last week, about it's a combination of the two, really, heavy rock and metal and punk, all three of them together to make new album. And of course you've got people like Girls' School and a myriad of other female rock bands. Yeah, I know you had Heart again. You can always point at one-offs in there, but of course you wouldn't have had Joan Jett, right? The magnificent and wonderful Joan Jett, which we'll be talking about in later episodes. Spoiler alert there. The Runaways. I know that they were a manufactured band and they had a very terrible time, and I've watched the documentary, but at the same time they made amazing female empowering punk music, rock and roll. So you start with your punk, don't you? You go, okay, right, it's we've now got this line in the sand, and where does it go from there? And then of course a lot from then, if you move forward maybe in a couple of years, you move into the pop arena. Now I'm thinking I'm talking about all this electro pop, 81, sort of 1990, around that period, about 10-year period, 80 to 90 maybe. Now, there were always females in pop music. Yes, they were, always. But they were usually accompanied by someone else, or they were in the background, or they were, they weren't the main attraction. But if you look at the 80s pop music, particularly the British pop music scene, it really was very female orientated, and then there's a lot of it around. There was, Kath and not Kath and Kim, that's an Australian sitcom. Kath and Kim, no, completely wrong. You know who I mean. I'm gonna have to, one second. Mel and Kim, that's what I meant. Gosh, bloody thing. And you had like Alison Moyer, what a great voice she has. When she was in Yazoo. There's so many amazing female singers that come through, and again, even though they were there, like particularly in the blues and the R&B, they were there, but they weren't in the foreground. I mean, Sade and people like that, amazing voices. Kim Wilde and the sadly passed on Kirsty MacColl, amazing sort of faces and voices. And so you had this, so it was sort of being born from the we can do anything attitude. I genuinely believe that. I don't think if the punk thing hadn't happened, I still think we'd be we'd still be very strongly male oriented in the music scene. Maybe not as much as it was, but certainly I think that you can really thank the punks and the explosion in America more so, and then in the UK, you know, and overseas. Like there's a great Dutch punk band called Kleenex, which were a female band, but were a really good fun band, you know. So they're all over the world, springing up everywhere, right? The Slits, one of my favourites particularly. And then we sort of go to ourselves, how does that move into the genre we're listening to? How does it move into heavy rock and heavy metal? Well, it does, because from bands like Girl School, and from bands that like Doro and you know, great female guitarists and vocalists, is an empowerment, right? So it's taken away from that, you know, the Spinal Tap image of the tight jeans with the cucumber down the pants. I mean, yeah, they do the equivalent, don't they? They do the tight leather, you know, cleavage tops, you know, what my uncle called the bingo dress, you know, eyes down, look in, you know, and the short skirts. And they do still, like the guys, they still use their bodies to sell some of their music, which is, you know, it's not right, is it? But at the same time, it's not wrong either, because, you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm sure that a lot of those hairy hair bands of the 80s, particularly on the Sunset Strip there in America, like Motley Crue and, you know, all those sort of, I'm going to say awful because I don't like hair bands, as sort of bands there, they were using their, you know, manufactured good looks and, you know, makeup and big hair to pull the chicks, man, right? So there's no difference to them for what the women were doing. But when a woman does it, she's a bit, you know, ooh, that's not acceptable. But a guy stands in tight jeans, you know, and, you know, cut to his waist and oiled chest and all that sort of big flowing hair, and it's perfectly acceptable. But a woman does the opposite and does it, and she's, you know, not to be trusted. Now, it's a bit hypocrisy, right? But as I was saying, so we move into the heavy rock scene, and for a few years there, they were dabbling and around, playing in sort of your classic metal sounds, right? They were just, you know, your clean vocals, your big sound, very gifted guitarists, bass players, drummers. I mean, look at you just got to look at you know, Walk Like an Egyptian, the Bangles, great band. Although I think, if I remember rightly, and I could be wrong here because I haven't researched this, but when we were at school, I'm gonna laugh here. I remember we were listening to Walk Like an Egyptian, which happens to be my sister-in-law's favourite song, I think, and we were listening to that in the school bus. We were going to this is a sidetrack, but it's funny. We were going to take all these cans we collected to the tip to get money back to raise money for the school for a school minibus, and a new one anyway, a special one for the special needs children. And we were on the bus, and the radio, and the teacher had the radio on because he was quite forward thinking, and he had the radio on, and it was the Bangles, and it was Walk Like an Egyptian. And I remember, because it was like a Thursday and Top of the Pops was on that weekend, and they'd come back the next week, and the Bangles had been on Top of the Pops. Now I remember it vividly because the song was on just before You Can Call Me Out, and just after Sledgehammer. So it was like a really amazing free videos in this one particular episode. It was just wonderful, and we were all chatting in the classroom. I'm sorry, Justin. I know you listen to this show, and I know you may not remember this. I do. I said I really fancied the lead singer, as we all had picked the people, you know, because we were teenagers. We were like 14, weren't we, right? And you said you liked the drummer, and I think it turned out to be a man. I remember vividly finding it out later. I didn't know at the time. It wasn't like we knew at the time. Went, oh yeah. It was like, I don't know, whether it was after I left school or I don't think we ever brought it up in front of him, in front of you, Justin. I don't think we did, but I'm sure, yeah. He was a man. The guy, I don't know for that if the band had a male drummer. Let me just check this, but it was for that performance they definitely did. Now I've just done some research there. See, live researching, man. I don't think it was a man. Oh, sorry, Justin. I may have besmirched you, but I just remember thinking to myself, "Oh, it was a man," and I truly laughing my arse off, thinking it was a male drummer. It might have been on Top of the Pops. There's nothing that says it isn't. I just remember at the time thinking that's a man. I hope not. Debbie Patterson, who was a drummer, does not look like a man. I'm not besmirching her at all. Beautiful woman, I'm sure she is, and she is. I just remember vividly afterwards being told that the drummer was a man. So, there you go. There you go. I've besmirched one of my closest old school friends, and then I've also brought it back. What live recording there? I didn't besmirch him. He didn't know. I mean, we were only young, didn't we? We all say stupid things. Anyway, sorry, Justin. Sorry. Oh well, it's been a funny old week. I can blame it on the cold medication. Shall I blame it on the cold medication? Yeah, let's do that. Anyway, either way, coming to the end of the side, I will talk about a little bit more about that same thing when we get back on the other side. But I'm going to go and get a fresh drink, take some painkillers for my pounding head and my sore throat, and hopefully don't get sued by Justin. Anyway, I'm sure not. You know, he'll understand. I'm sure absolutely we did just all laugh about it. Sure we did. Anyway, talk to you on the other side, guys. Bye for now. Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the intro to Women in Rock, the month of April celebration here at Heavy Metal Tones. I have done a little episode before, as you know, earlier in the series, in the show's history around that, but this is just a bit more in depth, I think. And again, I've explained why. It's just because I just think it's something that I find very important and needs to be more. We should just be a bit more. We should just celebrate everything, everyone and everything, gender, non-gender, whatever. Just celebrate rock music in general. But one of the reasons that I do enjoy and seek out a lot of the times female fronted bands is because I again like the passion. I like the different swing and take on the music that they bring to the table. I also love the vocal ranges that they get, and you can get when you get a female singer, a particular female singer, and also the dexterity and the speed of some of the guitarists, and I have to tell you, female bass players, you know, amazing sense of rhythm that they bring to the table, and you know, there are drummers out there that can hit the skins harder and more aggressive and more and with more swing and syncopation than a lot of guys. You know, I'm only able to point to one of my favourite bands who's about to release a new album, and that's Crypta. Crypta are a black metal band from, and I've done an episode of them before as well, from Brazil. They're full female extreme metal band, and they made probably one of the greatest black metal albums of the last 15 years, in Echoes of the Soul. I'd be surprised if. I'm so looking forward to the next one. I'm worried about the next album. Can it live up to the new album? Let's find out. I mean, I'm so excited by it. They have changed the guitarist, but you know, with all bands, people come and go. Doesn't mean it's going to get any worse. It can only get better, really, can't it? Again, so my fascination with it, I think it stems from, I think when I think back about it, it stems from coming from a family of all boys, no sisters, and from an era when, it was really rare to see like a female lead singer in a heavy rock band. Extremely rare. I mean, I could, but in my childhood, I probably can't even name any, really. I mean, Heart's probably as close as it's going to get to it, and even then, I wouldn't call them a heavy rock band. They might point fingers at me and shout at me, and I might be getting some hate mail for it, but I don't see them. I saw them more as a sort of AOR, American sort of, road band, like, for long road journeys, your car bands, like for your car stereos, your 8 tracks and all that sort of stuff, for the huge kilometres that they drive over there. I have really, in the past, maybe, I'd say in the past 3 or 4 years, really come to appreciate, really come to appreciate the differences between, and what, not the difference is the wrong word, the beauty of what everyone brings to the table. It's not just your long hair, your tight denims, your head down, look how many notes I can play, machismo. That has its place. It does, right? It really does. The swagger and the pomposity of it. It does. I think the only area where you probably find women are underrepresented in rock music is probably prog. Now, I could be wrong out there. There might be some real prog heads out there who more than me. So you can say, no, but there's this, and this. I couldn't really name you any, in fact, and I don't mean the modern era stuff, because there's plenty of that. In the modern prog metal scene, there's lots of that. I don't mean that. I'm talking about your 77s, your 73s to 77, that kind of era. That, yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd, ELP, Van de Graaff Generator, Gentle Giant, Rush, those kind of people. It's all very much a male-orientated scene. In fact, probably the most male-orientated music of the rock genres, really. Because even in the heavy rock, I'm sure there's some fantastic female musicians popping their head over the parapet and saying, "What about me? It isn't fair." Sorry, no, that's just my little in-joke there, being in Australia. But, so, where are we going to go in this month? So, we're going to start off with, hopefully, we're going to record interview with, as I said, a musician that I have a lot of respect for. I talk to quite regularly. I've seen many times, but every single time has blown me away, never been disappointed. Her backing band, or her band, is, I think, second to none in the live gigging arena in Australia. Again, I don't want to give it away because I don't want to. I want a little bit of mystique. And then we're going to do an episode on the women behind the scenes. So that's going to be more difficult for me to research, but I already know in my mind where we're going to go. So we're going to do women behind, so away from the stage, producing, artwork, tour managers, that sort of thing. And we might do it in such a way that each part of the show, in fact we will do it, each part of the show will have a section for each bit, like we'll do producers, road managers, artists, and so on. And then we're going to move on from that. We'll do my top 5, and that's really tough because it's very difficult at any given time, really, to do a top 5. I've done it before. I try and stay away from it. I did it, back in the early days of the show with Maiden and stuff, but it's very difficult because on a Monday you might ask me, and this might be my top 5, and then you might ask me again on the Wednesday, and it's changed. It could change by lunchtime. It can change going to the letterbox and back. It's really not difficult. It's quite difficult. Even though I enjoy doing lists and top 10s, I do enjoy them. I have to say I do, because I tend to spurt them out really quickly. And I've got friends of mine like John and Millsy and people like, they take their time and they really mull over it. I'll just blurt them out because that's the kind of guy I am, Tiger. And and I will, then sort of think, oh, well, I completely missed that, or I should have thought about that, and I might revise it, So we'll do that as well. In between that, of course, I've got my 100th show, which is next week. So next week there will be 2 shows recorded. There will be part 2 of my Women in Rock month of April, and then my celebration, and then there'll be the 100th show, which might only just be like a 20-minute, half hour. It could only be 50. I don't know yet. I haven't really thought about it because I misjudged where my 100th show was, and I'd already planned to do this whole April wedge, and now I'm sort of like, I need to do something to celebrate the 100th show, and I would like for you to come along and celebrate with me, which would be really good. I have got a couple of interviews booked for May, some really exciting ones, some interesting, again, don't want to give it away, but some really interesting stuff coming up for May. But also very excited about April, to do the females in April, month of April. Hopefully I feel better next week. It's just been a bit rough. Change of seasons. I did do the old rat and stick the thing up the nose. No COVID, luckily enough, which is nice to hear, or nice to know, I should say. I'd love to hear from you, to reach out to me on the show, because on my Facebook page, private on the messenger, or on the page itself, just who your female icons in rock and roll, and it could be in any genre, guys. Don't be embarrassed to sit there and say, I bloody love Sade, and I really enjoy Blondie, and I love some of that 80s pop, right? So don't be embarrassed by saying, just because you might like that, but you think, it's a metal show, I don't really want to say that. No, do it. I'd love to know. One of my heroes, actually, really, is Tina Weymouth, bass player from Talking Heads. Doing a few cover versions of their songs recently. Forget how good Tina actually bloody well is. Amazing bass player. For someone that didn't know how to play the instrument when she picked it up, she has this incredible way of using the whole neck of the guitar, in some really interesting and odd rhythmic time signatures. And I think that's because she didn't have the training, so that she's not restricted by, you can't put that note with there, and you can't put that note with there, and you know what I mean. So I think that everyone's got their own. Everyone will have someone that they admire greatly. So I would love to know who, band. Just reach out, tell me, the band, instrument, why. Even and if I don't know them, please give me some recommendations. Like songs or albums, or even if it's just or artwork or production or whatever. I'd love to listen to your recommendations. Also, while I got you guys, I'm almost 2 years into the show yet, and I don't get a lot of reviews. I'd love some reviews, please. It's not hard to do. On Spotify, you go in the top corner with the dots and hit this, and rate this show. Love to get some ratings. It gives me more audience share. Same with iTunes. I've got one there, but it's a lovely review. But I can get some more. That'd be great. I don't mind if it's negative. You all have your say. Negativity, again, is an energy. Don't be rude or vile, of course, but be positive if you can. I'd love to get some feedback. It's sort of, I love what I do. I really, really enjoy. I look forward to my Monday mid-mornings to record. Sometimes, life gets in the way, and I'm not as researched as I could be, but that's me, that's, I think, what brings you back to the show, right? If I knock the mic like that, I'm not gonna spend half an hour trying to take every nuance out of it and clean it up, because I don't have producers for the show. It's all done by me. I don't make any money out of it, and I don't I don't really want to do. I'd love to go and do a Patreon page and episodes, but my worry is that I don't know what I'd give you for the money you spend. Again, reach out if you want a Patreon episodes. Let me know, and I can set it up. I'm just not sure what you want to hear. You know, if it's more just funny stuff, let me know. If it's you know, much more detailed, in-depth stuff that I really can't get into the time frame I have in and I run along a show. An hour is quite a good, decent amount of time for a show. If I can't get it in that time frame, you know, maybe I could do that. I don't know. I'm spitting in the wind here, guys. You know, you let me know what you think. Anyway, I'm coming to the end of the show. It's a shorter one this week because I just wanted to intro about what we're going to be going through the next month. I really hope that you do come on the journey. I really hope that you do reach out. I've got, like I said, next week's interview, if it is going to be next week, it could get, I mean, you never know. We live in times where people get busy. The interview might get postponed. It might be the week after, but it will be in April. I'm really, really excited about it. Speaking of interviews, I just did a fantastic interview with Udo Dirkensnyder from well, he was Accept. He wasn't Accept. Now he's got his own band, Udo. He's an absolute fucking legend. First time he's touring Australia for the first time in 50 years. Bands never came out before. He's bringing out one member of Accept on bass. He's playing only 3 gigs. He's playing Easter, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide, I believe. He is such a dude, such a nice guy. I interviewed him for Metal Ruse. Hopefully I'll be able to put it up on the show as an audio rip. We have to see what the copyrights and all that sort of stuff goes first. I might give it a month or two and let it just sort of, you know, once he's done the shows, I'll put it up. Anyway, that's me coming to the end of the show. Yes, I know it's a bit shorter this week, guys. It's because I'm really feeling quite rough. I'm sorry. I don't feel great, and I don't want to babble on any more than I really have to. I don't want you to get bored. Is the key. But yes, Women in Rock Pop. That's what this month is about. All right. So reach out. Let me know. There might be some surprises for you in the next couple of weeks with some of the stuff we're going to talk about. There might be some stuff you already go, well, I already know that tone. What are you talking about, man? Otherwise, just come on the journey. I just love these kind of... I love the podcast format that in such a way that we can do what we want. We can say what we want. Sometimes it's useless information. Sometimes it's just me babbling. Sometimes it's me just being, you know, me being me. But what I love about it is that we can just do this. We can celebrate things. Like, who cares? I don't have to worry about putting it past executives and radio executives and admin and PR. I just go, right, this month is Women in Rock Month. Next month could be Prog Month. This is going to be this. This is going to be that. Yeah. Again, watch out for my 100th episode next week. It's going to go out on a day that will surprise you. It won't go on a day you know. I'm just going to pump it out. And we'll see if you like it or not. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun. Bit of cake, bit of wine, have a beer, have a shot, whatever you want to do. Come celebrate my 100th episode with me next week. As I said, it won't be the main episode. It will be a subsidiary one. Anyway, that's me finished for the day. I'm going to go lie down now in a darkened room. Yes, I got a brand new record deck for my 50th birthday, which is something else we might talk about in a couple of coming few weeks. But it's it's a Riga Planner 3. It has the most amazing separation. You don't realise how good the audio can be on a quality record, on a good deck through a good speakers, and I've got a fantastic set of speakers and a really good amp, and the separation is just beautiful. I only have to put on like 3. My old deck I had to put on like 9 to get anything out of it, and it was always tinny. This is absolutely beautiful. I played some Jethro Tull for it yesterday, some Marillion, some Iron Maiden, some Slayer. every dynamic range you could think of. I might even now put some Joy Division or something like that, or what's I going to think in New Order, get some bass going for it, or even probably actually Pill. So we got the best bass to put through that with Jar Wobble. Anyway, I've rammed it. See, I'm rambling because I'm not feeling well. Chat to you next week. See you on the flip side. Bye for now.